3, 2, 1, go! Welcome to BEERA Shop, the CPESA podcast for Ugandan businesses. And today we're going to be talking AI, artificial intelligence. Now, I know these emerging technologies can sometimes be a little intimidating, especially if you're a business owner. How will it support the productivity and outcomes of my small or medium-sized businesses? Well, today we are your friends at BEERA Shop. We're going to be speaking to two experts that will help us break down how your businesses can absorb AI, especially if you have special needs, are hearing impaired, or even sight impaired, what we are terming inclusion. Everybody is welcome in the technical space, especially when it comes to digitalization of everything, including your business. So I'm really happy to have on the show today Dr. Abdul Busulwa. He's an educator and foremost leader in inclusive technologies. He's going to be talking to us a little bit as well. And then we have Paul Kimumwe. I hope I said that right without killing
Yes, you
it.
did.
Who's a senior program officer and research and advocacy here at CPESA. If you're wondering what CPESA is, it's the International ICT Policy for Eastern and Southern Africa. They're making sure that you understand your digital rights and also adopt digitization to make your life and business that much easier. Okay, so let's start with Dr. Busulwa. Thank you so much for joining us. I think
You're welcome.
the first question is, most people really do not understand what AI is, artificial intelligence. They hear about it, maybe they've interfaced with it, but they don't understand how AI can help them, let's say in their daily lives and beyond that into their businesses. Can you help us understand a little bit about what this artificial intelligence is?
Well, I think we can start with the intelligence itself. We are talking about how bright or dull somebody can be. So that's the natural intelligence. When you go to class and you perform well, you are like you get the 80s and the 90s, then we say you're brilliant, you are intelligent, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but then we have also, along the way, developed ways of making what we call artificial intelligence. So, which means that within the digital world, there is a branch of ICT where software is designed in such a way that it can assist you in certain tasks like a human being would. And I think it started with the robotic and domotic technology, where a robot could be instructed to do certain things that would ordinarily have been done by a human being, like assembling cars, assembling radios, assembling what. But nowadays, it has now come to our daily way of using technology, where certain things can be done for you automatically because some people thought that probably you would either make mistakes or it would be cumbersome for you. For example, you could be writing an email and maybe you forget to attach, and yet in your body of that email you talked about an attachment. So the artificial intelligence may come in to remind you that before you send, please, you need to attach something. Or you could be writing and you give a wrong spelling to something that is already embedded within the system. So the system can come and automatically correct it for you. And so those are some of the parameters in which artificial intelligence may be coming in handy to help us do certain things. If you have certain routine tasks, artificial intelligence can help you to do them without you having to do a lot of work to do the same thing.
So it acts like a shadow brain.
Yeah.
It is almost like a second brain.
Yes,
for
true,
you.
true.
Okay. The thing is, for us in Uganda, the biggest question people ask, especially in the business sector, and we're told through the statistics that the largest amount of people are in the informal sector. So someone would easily ask, Pituyambachi, like, how does AI help us?
Okay. AI will help you probably if you want to design something, you don't know how it is designed, you are doing some market research, or you want to design a brochure, but you don't know how to go through the entire process.
Right.
AI may help you in certain crucial areas, and you may come out with a better product than something that you will gamble through and you don't know exactly what you can do. So in this case, if you were using like ChatGPT, you may be able to design a better brochure than somebody who doesn't know everything. Or if you want to like gather information about your audience, you may design let me say questionnaire or something, and in the process of sending it out, you may use AI to do certain things for you in the process of getting that information to the people, and probably collecting and like getting the results of what you have done. You may find that some of us are not very good mathematicians, and the AI may come out and give you a good summary of what people have told you, and then you are on a better footing than somebody who was not using AI.
I understand. So, Paul, I think I'm going to ask you to join this conversation. You are in the research and advocacy space, right?
Yep.
And Dr. Busulwa has helped us walk through how this second brain is helping us in business efficiency, but there are obvious risks. When Doctor was explaining, I thought to myself, in a day, if I had a second brain that could do what I need done, yesterday, for example, we were putting together the flyer for this podcast.
Yep.
And within 5 minutes, ChatGPT was able to give us an outlay. We were able to get in and out of the process maybe within 7 minutes. Whereas if you're waiting for someone, it can take a little longer. What we know about AI is that internationally, it's kind of taking over. In Africa, there is a conversation about AI, but we don't know exactly where it sits. As a person who's in policy and advocacy, can you describe to us what the risks are with this artificial intelligence? How close should we get to it? Should there be safeguards, especially as a small business owner? Should we be fully embracing this AI technology, or should we have some questions?
Thank you, Sophia, and thanks, Dr. Busulwa. Just to piggyback on what he has been explaining.
Yes.
So he spoke about intelligence, and so like as humans, we are trained so we are fed with information. You go to school from primary up to secondary. At his level is at doctorate level.
Yes.
You've been trained to think in a certain way, to understand in a certain way, and also to interpret and reason in a certain way. You become an expert in that field. Now, just imagine you are trained with wrong information up to that level. So you are an expert, but your expertise is based on wrong information. And then I come and invite Dr. Busulwa to come and give us this talk. He will be reasoning from a very biased and uninformed point of view, but he's been extremely trained. So these are some of the risks that we face, because how does AI work? So these are machines, these are apps that are trained on data, they are fed on data. It is refined so that it is able to imitate, it is able to reason, and able to predict some of the human interaction. So what you do, you put in a prompt. I think many of us, we use Google Maps. You say, okay, Google Map, I'm going to Tinder, find for me the fastest route. So if wrong information was fed into the systems of Google, then it probably take you to the longest route. And so it is a technology which is supposed to help us, but sometimes depending on who trained it, who fed it with information, it can be risky. And so one of the risks in that it can be so right now, because it has been so trained, we are embracing it, but we don't understand how it used. So it has a lot of benefits, but I think you asked us to focus a little bit on the risks and the harms that it comes with.
That's right.
Yes. So number one, especially for people who are working in offices, you have a very big document that you've been told, could you summarize this? You're going to make a presentation. But it is an internal document. And then you go into ChatGPT, probably open source, you upload the document, it gives you the summary, but you've given away sensitive information in the public domain. So you lose a bit of control of that information. So these are some of the harms that you have. So many organizations are embracing AI, but without understanding what are the risks of me using an open source application. So by you uploading a sensitive document into a publicly available application, you are going to lose a little bit of control. You are going to give away people's information. I think number two, for many people who are in the business of hiring, we tend to rely on AI to shortlist or to review people's CVs. And if a CV has been poorly written, because AI is trained to identify certain patterns, like we are looking for somebody with a degree, somebody who has 8 years experience. If you put 7 years experience, AI will put your CV out. So you'll be unshortlisted. And so it has a danger of discriminating or excluding people. And speaking about probably inclusivity, right now, many financial institutions are using AI to assess or to evaluate people's creditworthiness. Because it is so much, people are applying for loans, people are applying for credit, and so we don't have the time to review every person's transactions. So we put your transaction history into AI tool, and then it will review. So if you have made some mistakes, it will automatically reject your application. So the lack of a human loop.
Right.
Yes.
Paul, it sounds like it is almost a personality in some ways, like a biased personality. Obviously, it's, these open source models are fed by human beings.
Yes.
But those are the risks. Like, how is it that you can deter discrimination, for example? I think those are some of the risks that we have to be very aware of. So the other thing that I wanted us to speak about, and I think I'll pose this to Dr. Busulwa because he's the ICT expert on these matters. We noticed that these models, these AI models, lack inclusivity, either with persons who are differently abled. That's one aspect, and also with the language barrier. I guess languages like English, maybe Spanish, and all these other ones are called high resource languages. But we who are indigenous to wherever we come from may not be fully included in the AI conversation. Dr. Busulwa, can you speak to us about the importance of inclusion when it comes to AI models, especially for us in Uganda and Ugandan businesses?
Yeah, of course, the inclusion is very, very important if you have decided that you want to use AI. Unfortunately, many of those experts that design those AI platforms and softwares, there are certain considerations they don't take into account when they are designing these programs. For example, if you estimated that somebody would be able to answer a particular question, filling in a form, for instance, in maybe 1 minute, and somebody with shaky hands or somebody with a slow brain would need 5 minutes. Before the minute, or by the time the minute ends, the thing is timing out. And it might conclude that you don't know the answer, when you actually know the answer, but your ways of inputting are a bit slower than for the estimation that the other person designed. Or you could be somebody that is prone to making mistakes, not because you want to make mistakes, but you have a disability. There's a disability called dyslexia, where I think you could have come across teachers. They always say, I'm poor in spellings. That is a trace towards disability. So they know what they want to say, but somehow they have a problem of spelling words correctly. So at what point do you decide to reject somebody's input on account of a spelling? At what point? So all those considerations must be put in if you want to be inclusive. Then there are also people who have problems with attention. The example I want to give here is, for example, you filled in, you want to send somebody money, you're paying for something, and you are given a chance to review the information you have put in before you press the send button.
Yes.
But at what point do you decide that this is the correct information and we proceed with this process? You may find that there could be a small error, and if AI had been designed to detect even those small ones, sometimes we say these are the important fields, these are not important, and therefore the form will not go until when the information in those important fields are well filled.
Yes, happens all the time.
Yeah, so the moment those factors are not considered when somebody is designing those softwares and platforms, you're bound to exclude people with disabilities. That's one. The language issue, yes, it is risky. You go to an ATM machine, it tells you if you want to speak English, press this one. Swahili, press the Luganda, press the other. But you are telling somebody who doesn't know how to read even. How will he know that? So probably, I think for the language issue, we need just to do advocacy to include as many languages as possible in some of these main platforms where AI is used. For example, like Google, they use Gemini. I don't know how much it recognizes Luganda, so that when you write your email in Luganda, it can also help you to correct the mistakes and all that. And other platforms, I don't know whether ChatGPT recognizes Luganda, DeepSeek, and others, those chatbots. So for the language issue, it is an issue of advocacy. It may not necessarily be an issue of disability, but these indigenous languages, how much can we incorporate in those softwares that have been designed with AI in mind? Because you may write something and it gives you an automated correction, which actually in real sense is a mistake. So I think for language, that's as much as I can say. So there are principles that we must put in mind if we must be inclusive. One of them that I love so much is called tolerance for error. When somebody makes an error, there should be some limit to which he's tolerated so that he doesn't suffer the adverse effects of that mistake. Because imagine if you are sending 500,000 to somebody in error, and this tolerance for error is not embedded in the system, you lose that money to a wrong number. So, and then the intuitive use, as you are inputting, the artificial intelligence should know the direction you are taking and tries to help you to understand where you're going, so that if you are bound to make a mistake, you are kind of reminded that the direction you are taking is wrong and probably you take the right direction. So there are a number of principles that can be put in place whenever somebody designs a system that is AI related, to ensure that everybody is included, the illiterate, people with the various disabilities, and so on.
Yeah, that sounds quite comprehensive, because can you imagine if let's say you were dealing with whatever disability, I really don't like that word, but whatever, is not, you're just differently abled from someone else, and you're not included in the AI conversation, you can definitely feel are left out. And of course, you know that our neighbors, our friends, people in business are all differently abled. You want everyone to be able to access, to be able to do business, and be included in the conversation. I guess, Paul, I think let me turn to you and talk a little bit more about how businesses can really absorb AI. When policies are being created, how do you take the information that has been shared by Dr. Busulwa in terms of inclusion? How does that become a policy measure? How do we see that practically worked out in, some of the measures that we have?
Thank you, Sophia, and again, Dr. Busulwa, for able articulating the issues of inclusion. And I think it goes back to how AI functions. It is trained. These are models, large language models that are trained to imitate human behavior,
Right,
or to act in a certain way, or to support and ease our work. In terms of reasoning, you have a lot of work to do. You put it into AI, having been trained, and then it will simplify, of course, reduce on the costs, reduce on the time spent on those tasks, because it's technology. And I think the issues that doctor was raising is exclusivity, in that the way these models are trained, they are not fed enough information about the various disabilities, and especially how people with different disabilities engage with these services. And so if I don't have a visual impairment, and I have no experience of how difficult it is to navigate my way around, if I'm designing something, if I'm designing a tool, I will have less consideration about the needs of Dr. Busulwa, because I have never engaged with him. We have never sat down and said, okay.
You're not in his world. You can't possibly understand.
Exactly. So my main issue is, how do I bring Dr. Busulwa onto the table at the design process to make sure that if I'm designing something using his principles, but beyond the principles, how do I make sure that Dr. Busulwa is on the design table to make sure that whatever I design can be able to accommodate his needs and ease on his life. He talked about how I think ATMs can now say, if you want to speak Luganda, but so you need to be able to you said you must be able to read. So can we design applications that are multimodal in nature, in that they have both voice and text options? If I am not able to read, then I should be a tool for me where I can say, okay, I need voice, so that it's multimodal. And this is the only way we can ensure inclusivity, by bringing everybody on the table. So for us in the research field, in the design field, so working with the people who are designing these applications, saying, okay, who are you designing for? And how do these people consume, engage with your technology? And what are they looking for in that technology? So if you understand that, then your final product would be responding to the needs of everybody. People who are literate, because you understand how do they consume, how do they interact. People who are blind, how do they consume, how do they interact with these technologies. So this is where we need to be moving. Of course, we shall have the policies, very good ones, but you asked practically, how do we move forward? And I think the other thing that we always tend not to discuss is who is designing these technologies.
Big question.
Yes.
Extremely big question. Because we always, in Uganda, let me just speak as a Ugandan, but in general in Africa, our adoption is always, from the, we have the north-south divide. We always adopt from the north, and then we have to somehow make it work in our own context. But please continue. I interrupted.
Yes, so that's one of the challenges, because the people who are designing these applications, probably they have no idea the local context that we are operating in.
They rarely do.
And so we need to be able to say, okay, how do we get to the table? And so for us who are doing the research locally is to understand how do these technologies operate, and be able to say, okay, if Dr. Busulwa cannot go to America and he has no access to Meta, to Google, how do I come in and intervene and say, okay, I may be as a spacer, these are the things we're working on. We have spoken and interacted with people who use your technologies. These are their needs. Please include them in the design process, and also test them out before you roll out, so that you are able to refine this technology. And I think is something that will help us to reduce on the exclusion, because increasingly we shall have voices, we shall have ideas from different people, from different users embedded into these technologies.
The great thing that I I'm hearing from a lot of end users and also policy people, academics such as Dr. Busulwa, is that most Ugandans actually have a smartphone in their hands. The issue now comes with the connectivity. So even though you have the hardware, there is still a need for us to connect, online and really digitalize in a real way so that businesses, daily users, just regular citizens who will also need to be included in this digital dialogue, let me call it, can also be a part of it. I think we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, but I just wanted to hear from you from a policy point of view. Can you share with us, like, what is Uganda doing to just reach, not just the urbanized areas that can easily access these AI tools, but also someone who's really far? For example, there is such a big push for agriculture, agri-based businesses, and many of these people are in the rural areas. Now they're like, AI, me, I sell cabbages or I sell tomatoes or whatever produce they have. And yet some of this technology can help them maybe fight pesticides, be able to grow their produce, increase their yields due to information and things like that. I guess what I'm asking from you is, as a policy person, how is Uganda extending access to information through internet, through the use of phones, and also these big AI models to be able to also include them?
Thank you. And I think right now, Uganda is in the process of developing an AI strategy that will probably guide on how AI is implemented, adopted, and governed in the country. But as you ably mentioned, that of course, the technology needs infrastructure. If I have no connectivity, I have no power. If I don't have data, then the AI tools become relevant to me because I cannot use them. So I think UCC, Uganda Communications Authority, no, Uganda Communications Commission.
Yes.
Yes, they have a program which is they changed the new name.
It is called the UCSAF.
Yes, but it's under universal access.
Yes, exactly.
And I think recently MTN deposited, I think, about 5 billion Ugandan shillings as part of their contribution to that universal access fund. So these are funds that mostly people in technology, people in telecom companies remit to government to facilitate government expansion of digital infrastructure. And so technology as it is cannot be achieved in one way. So we need to make sure that, one, electricity is widely available across the country because you need power to charge. Where there is no hydro, you can put solar. The roads are good.
So like a grid expansion.
Yes, there is internet connectivity. And also digital literacy is very critical because we have some of these tools, but people do not know how to use them. So I think everybody has to come on board to make sure that we expand everything so that we don't look at AI in isolation, but AI thrives on very good public digital infrastructure.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dr. Busulwa, I just wanted to have one more question from you. What should people know, especially people who are differently abled from us, in embracing technology and for their businesses?
I think there are two issues. The first thing, they should know that technology is here to stay. It's not going away. So the issue of saying, for me, I'm not bothered, it is no longer an option. People should somehow strive to use this technology because of the benefits that it comes with. And then two, they should also know that there are ways in which to make it accessible. There are ways of making it inclusive. And once they have that information, they'll look for the people who can help them to make it accessible. Because there are many businesses, like banks, telecom companies, broadcasting, all those, where the people working in those institutions do not bother to know how accessibility or inclusion can be attained in those situations. So if a person knows that if I'm making a transaction on my maybe mobile banking or internet banking and I've failed to fix it, they should be able to lodge that complaint into a bank, and then the bank should find a software expert to fix that problem so that I'm finally included. One time I opened an account with Equity Bank, and I told them, I requested that they install for me their app in my phone. And the person refused flatly, said, if I do that, I'll even be fired from my job because I'm giving this app to somebody who cannot use it. And who told you I cannot use it? But I have apps of other banks. What about yours? I said, it is a policy in this bank. We don't give these apps to people like you. You are visually impaired. And that was around 2020. I don't know if the policy has changed, but I think that was very, very unfair. So people should know that there are ways to fix some of these things. And once they know that, whenever they are denied their rights, they should go ahead and complain so that these big institutions get to be aware of what should be done, and then maybe the conversation will go to another level to try and fix these problems.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Busulwa. Thank you so much, Paul. And you have heard it here. Do not be left behind. The world has changed. The adoption of AI sounds a bit scary, but you'd be surprised. I think everyone needs a second brain in their lives just to make things easier. And if you're a business person and you'd like to know a little bit more about how you can be included, especially if you're differently abled, please go to our CPESA website and we'll have more information for you. Remember, BEERA sharp.